Hey guys, welcome to our NFL, AFC, NFC Conference Championships predictions video. We are going to be looking at who we think is going to win each of these matchups and what we predict the final scores will be. So we have the two conference championship games coming up this Sunday. We have the Chiefs versus the Ravens on Sunday and the Lions versus the 49ers on Sunday as well. Hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get things started. So there's going to be two really good games. Both of the number one seeds are still in the playoffs right now, so we have the potential still to get a Super Bowl matchup, number one seed versus number one seed. That possibility is still there. That would be really fun to see the two top teams get to play one another. But no matter what, we have some really good games in store. So kind of kicking things off for us at 3 p.m. on CBS Sunday, January 28th, we have the 11-6 Kansas City Chiefs versus the 13-4 number one seed Baltimore Ravens. This is the AFC Championship game. This game is going to be in Baltimore. Baltimore will be at home. They are 3.5-point favorites as of right now. This is two of the top five defenses in all of football playing right now. So whenever you have elite defenses playing, technically anything is possible because you can keep the game really close, keep it a one-possession game. That possibility is always there. Plus, you also have two of the top five quarterbacks in the NFL right now getting to play each other head-to-head. Patrick Mahomes, he's probably a universally considered the best quarterback, but you have Lamar Jackson, who's a top three quarterback, but he's probably the MVP this season. So the perennial number one quarterback for the last 5 years versus the guy who's probably going to win the MVP award this season, head-to-head, and two top five defenses playing head-to-head. Looking at the total team matchups here, this is a game that's kind of odd because the Ravens, Chiefs, they've played before. Chiefs have usually had the upper hand in all of the previous matchups, but they were always a different team. So with the Chiefs, usually they were led by their offense, always having a top 10 offense. Defense was kind of average, sitting around 15. It's the completely other way this year. So they have an average offense, but they have an elite defense. So Patrick Mahomes, as of right now, he's not having to do anything to win games. Just don't lose in the game. Play good, sound football. Get first down. Score, 20 to 25 points, and you pretty much win every single game because the Chiefs rarely, if ever, give up over 24 points. They haven't given up 30 points the whole season. Really good defense. For the Ravens, obviously, they went through some injuries this year, lost the running back for the year. They lost Mark Andrews for a lot of it, but Mark Andrews is back right now. They're probably, with the 49ers, the best top-to-bottom roster in all of football. So they're coming into this game with a top five offense and also with a top five defense. They probably have the number one defense in all of football right here. So with them having the number one defense, their offense can keep up with their defense. So they can beat you multiple ways. They can beat you by shutting you out, keeping the game close, but their offense is also capable of getting into shootouts if they need to. So they're kind of a special team. Looking at the team stats here, you have the Chiefs coming in. They average 21.8 points a game. Baltimore averages 28.4 points a game. Like we said, a top five offense. And on defense, the Chiefs give up 17.3 points per game. That's a top five defense. And Baltimore, the number one defense, they give up 16.5 points per game. Kansas City, I'm not knocking them, but they've kind of had an easy schedule so far going into the playoffs. They got to play the Dolphins. Dolphins were down like 10 starters that game in the coldest game ever. 30 below zero for a South Florida team was forced to play in that temperature, down half of their starters, and the Chiefs beat them. So kind of an easy first game there. And then last week they played the Bills. Bills were down 7 or 8 starters last week. They basically had no linebackers playing, DNs banged up, D-line banged up. So they beat the Bills. Now they beat the Bills fair and square. They took advantage of a team that was beat up. I can't knock the Chiefs for that. It's just they haven't had a true challenge yet. The two teams they've played have been banged up and were limping into each of those games. That is not the case with the Baltimore Ravens. They're firing on all cylinders right now. Chiefs have not seen a defense like this. Chiefs don't have a good offense. They've played well the last few weeks, but the Ravens are going to make it really difficult. They have a really good D-line. They're going to shut down Pacheco, basically, and they're going to force Mahomes to only be able to beat them vertically with Kelsey. Outside of that, it's pretty shaky for their receiving core. Rice and those guys, there's a lot of drop passes. If the drop pass problem returns this week, it's going to be a really long game because they're going to have trouble running the ball. So the wide receivers have to step up. but Baltimore is not going to make it easy on them. So like we said, two pretty good teams, really good defenses. Obviously, they're both playing for a shot to get into the Super Bowl. Chiefs trying to get back for their 4th Super Bowl with Mahomes and Andy Reid. They have an edge. They have a very experienced team. Baltimore's a little younger, but Harbaugh's been there before. Lamar Jackson is trying to show that, unlike Josh Allen, he can get past Patrick Mahomes. But Lamar Jackson, he's obviously the MVP this year, 3,700 yards passing. He's also the leading rusher with just under 900 yards rushing. So, like we said, they can beat you multiple ways. I have this game being very close. If it's going to be a shootout, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens beating the brakes off of the Chiefs. That's always possible, but you never know with the Chiefs. They have a really good defense. They have a experienced team, so they can show up. They can play out. They can play better than their roster's been. But this is not the Chiefs team of the last 3 to 4 years. I have Baltimore getting the win here, 27-24. So I'm going with the +3.5. So I have them not covering the spread. But I do think that line is going to move down the closer that we get to that game. The next game that we're going to be taking a look at also on Sunday, we have the NFC Championship game at 6:30 p.m. on Fox. We have the 12-5 Detroit Lions versus the 12-5 San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco, pretty big favorites here. They are 7-point favorites. This game is in San Francisco. Looking at the Lions, they're coming off of that win. They played really well this past weekend versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defense stepped up at the end of the game, got the win. Detroit looked really good. The main thing that's been carrying them has been their offense. They don't even have a turnover yet so far during the playoffs. They're led by their offense. Detroit started the year really hot first half, one of the best teams. Once they got into the second half, they started falling off. The offense started having a lot of turnovers. They were completely plagued with turnovers. Defense started just getting scorched every single game. But the last 3 to 4 weeks of the regular season, they got the ship right. So the offense stopped turning the ball over. Goff's had a great year, 4,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 picks. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. St. Brown is a beast this year, having just under 1,600 receiving yards. Defense still gives up a lot of points sometimes, but they're a lot better than they were 6 weeks ago. So they've made a lot of improvements going into the playoffs. They hadn't won a playoff game in 32 years. They've now won back-to-back playoff games. Props to them. Props to Dan Campbell. This team's come a really long way. So they were just left out last year, but they made up for it this year, having a legit shot to make a Super Bowl. That would be massive. If you are a Detroit Lions fan, I'm very happy for you. They have a lot going for them right now, and they have a bright future. 49ers, this is their 3rd straight NFC Conference Championship game. They haven't even won the Super Bowl. So this has been a hard battle, them getting past this. If they've gotten to the Super Bowl, they've lost, but they're always in this position. Last year, though, the big thing that held them back was obviously Brock Purdy got hurt. If Brock Purdy plays last year, I definitely think they win that game still, and they get to another Super Bowl. Do they win the Super Bowl? I don't know that they beat the Chiefs, but either way, they get there. So they're fully healthy this year. They have, to me, the best roster top to bottom. Baltimore is not far behind, but Baltimore doesn't have the kind of running back that San Francisco has. San Francisco has just a crazy amount of weapons. They have Brock Purdy. They have Christian McCaffrey, who's the best running back. They have Kittle. They have Debo. They have Ayuk. They have a stacked defense, just like the Ravens. Really good defense, top 5 defense. They have a top 5 offense. So, like I mentioned on the previous game, the 49ers and the Ravens are the 2 best top-to-bottom rosters, both coming into the championship conference week with top 5 offenses and top 5 defenses for both of them. Now, as of right now, Debo is a 50-50 on if he's playing. If he's not playing, that's a massive loss right there. He's a guy that can do anything. He can line up in running back, slot, he can go vertical. He's kind of a jack of all trades, so not having him, can they still win? Yes, but it definitely constrains the offense because Brock Purdy's not a guy that you want to rely on to win you the game. He's had a good year so far this year, but he showed this past weekend. If you're forcing him to make vertical plays, he's going to mess up. It is what it is. If he has a clean pocket, if he has a good running game going, the guy will throw for 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. If the running game's not going, if he doesn't have a clean pocket, he'll have 2 picks. That's just kind of the way that things have been going for him. But thankfully for the 49ers, Detroit still doesn't have a good defense. So They're not as bad as they were, but they're still giving up, 25-ish points per game, roughly, even going into the playoffs. So the defense is still the sore spot, but the Lions have a really good offense. So if it's forced to go blow for blow, the Lions are more than capable of keeping up with the 49ers. But the edge that the 49ers have is they have a top 5 defense. So they can keep pressure on Goff, force him to have to beat them vertically through the air. Looking at the team stats here, the Lions come in, they average 27.1 points per game. That's top 10. Really good offense. And the San Francisco, they average 28.9 points per game on defense. That's where you see the difference between these two teams. So the Lions give up 23.2 points per game. San Francisco gives up 17.5 points per game. So the offenses are almost practically even. It's the defense where the teams go separate. Defense is always there in the playoffs. It comes with you through the playoffs. San Francisco has a elite level defense. They have a elite level offense. But the sore spot on offense is still Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy can win the game, but he cannot win you the game. They won last week, to me, because of Christian McCaffrey. He made big runs when they had to make runs, and that also helped Brock Purdy to have a couple clean pockets to do some play action to push the ball vertically down the field to score at the end of the game. But he is helped out by other teammates. He doesn't elevate everyone on the team. I'm not knocking Brock Purdy. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's call it what it is. He's not a elite level quarterback. Goff, I wouldn't say is elite, but he's the better quarterback in this matchup. He's had a better season so far with less weapons. Not that he doesn't have weapons. It's just no one has the amount of weapons that the 49ers have. Maybe the Dolphins have like the next best offensive type roster outside of Tua. He's not that good, but they have a very good wide receiver core and running back room. But the San Francisco 49ers are stacked right now, and they are healthy. Like we said, San Francisco, they are 7-point favorites here. That's a pretty big spread for a conference game, but I definitely see why. I have the San Francisco 49ers winning this game, getting back to the Super Bowl, winning 28-21. So that's actually coming in right at the push there. But I do think that as you get closer to this game, that line's going to start inching down 6.5, 6, 5.5, maybe finishing around 6 to 6.5. That's what I'm guessing as of right now. But it could also move up because if we get word that Debo's playing, it could go up to 7.5 and 8. But I'll also have to change my score, which I'll have another video coming out later this week. But I have the 49ers getting the win, 28-21, and coming in at the push. So we're going to have the two number 1 seeds, Ravens versus the 49ers, elite on elite, and that would be a really fun Super Bowl. So that's my breakdown of the conference games for the NFL week. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, any thoughts, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond. Thanks.